December 2nd, 2016. That date, I think, is when the script just completely flipped.
Oh, absolutely.
If you were into hip-hop back then, you remember it. You had Childish Gambino, Donald Glover coming off this massive success because the internet.
He was the witty punchline guy.
Exactly. The existential rapper.
Yeah.
The assumption was, okay, for his third album, he's just going to double down on the bars.
And instead, you press play, and the first thing you hear is a scream.
A literal scream.
Yeah.
And then, was it a glockenspiel?
A glockenspiel, yeah. And this heavy, distorted guitar, it sounds like it was pulled right out of, 1971.
We are, of course, doing a deep dive into Awaken, My Love. It's been a few years, but looking at the sources we've got here, production notes, the rollout, the reviews, it's so clear this wasn't just another album.
No, it felt like a career suicide mission that somehow turned into a total resurrection.
That is a perfect way to frame it. And that's our mission for this deep dive, right? To figure out how he did it.
It's more than just the sound. It's the whole methodology. How do you go from Fruity Loops rap beats to recording live funk that sounds like it was pressed on vinyl 40 years ago?
And we also have to get into the cost of it all. The cosplay accusations from some critics, and, of course, the controversy around the cover art.
Yeah, that's still a lingering issue.
Okay, so let's start with what you called the Great Departure. It's easy to just say he stopped rapping, but it's so much deeper than that.
It's a complete change in his musical vocabulary, completely.
Really?
Well, look at Camp, or because of the internet. The music's engine was the lyricism. The beat was just there to carry the words.
Right.
On Awaken, My Love, the engine is the groove. It's all psychedelic soul, P-funk, R&B. And Glover's voice here, it's an instrument. It's about texture, not just rhymes.
You mentioned the screaming at the top. For a first-time listener, that's got to be the most jarring part.
Oh, for sure. The critics called it a bold departure, which is, polite critic speak for what on earth is happening.
He's really straining his voice, whispering.
Yes. All these wild inflections. It's straight out of the George Clinton and Funkadelic playbook. He isn't trying to sound pretty. He's trying to sound effective in that very specific funk world.
Okay, let's define that context for a second. We keep throwing around P-funk. So for anyone who just knows Redbone from the radio, what are we actually talking about?
So P-funk is basically the Parliament Funkadelic universe that George Clinton created in the 70s. It wasn't just funk music. It was a whole mythology.
Like Afrofuturism?
Afrofuturism, psychedelia, sci-fi, all mixed with these heavy, almost rock guitars and soulful harmonies. So when Rolling Stone called this album an enthralling trip, they were getting it. He didn't just borrow a beat. He tried to recreate that whole chaotic atmosphere.
It really is like a time machine. You listen to Me and Your Mama, and you were just not in 2016 anymore.
And that was completely intentional. What's amazing is that before we even got the music, he gave us the map.
The rollout. He's almost better at marketing than he is at music sometimes.
He's a master of it. And this whole thing was an exercise in world building. So let's go back. June 17th, 2016, he tweets a link.
Just Pharos.earth, right?
That was it. And it wasn't a pre-save link. It was an app.
And when you opened it, you were just drifting in space.
Exactly. Looking at this little blue planet with a clock counting down. It forced you to slow down, to engage with this visual before you heard a single note.
So when the countdown finally hit 0,
the app crashes you down to Earth. And it puts you on a map in Joshua Tree, California. It was an invitation to a physical event.
The big concert experiences.
Yes. You could buy tickets through the app for these shows in September 2016. This was almost 3 months before the album dropped. He debuted the whole thing live.
In the middle of the desert. I mean, talk about setting a mood.
And he leaned right into it. The reports from the show are wild. Glover wearing glow-in-the-dark tribal paint on his braids, a pink and yellow skirt.
Wow.
The whole band had a similar kind of tribal neon vibe.
So this is the moment when thousands of fans realized, wait a minute, he's not rapping.
That's the tension. You've got all these kids in the desert who are probably expecting 3005, and instead they get this 11-song funk opera. It was a huge gamble.
But he didn't leave everyone else out, did he?
No. Later on, he updated the Pharos app. You could watch the performance of Me and Your Mama through a VR headset on your phone.
Which is kind of ironic. A tech-forward way to experience an album that sounds so deliberately anti-digital.
Exactly. Which brings us to the production. To me, this is the most impressive part. It just doesn't sound like it was made on a laptop in 2016.
Right, when everything sounded like it was made on a laptop.
This was the big technical pivot. It's still him and Ludwig Göransson, his usual guy.
Yeah.
But instead of being digital wizards, They stripped it all back. They went for total analog fidelity.
The instrument list in the liner notes is just wild. I'm seeing glockenspiel bottles like literal glass bottles, a cello banjo, harpsichord, a B3 organ.
And that cello banjo is such a perfect example of the detail they went into.
I gotta ask, what does a cello banjo even bring to the table?
It's all about the texture. It has a lower pitch, this kind of plunky, resonant sound that you just can't fake with a synth. It gives everything a muddy, organic, wooden feel. They wanted that 70s grit.
And it wasn't just the instruments. It was the voices, too.
Right. They brought in Brent Jones and the best life singers. That gives you that big, choral, communal feeling, which was so central to the original P-Funk idea. It's a village, not just one guy.
So when you hear an album that sounds this retro, the first thing you assume is that it's just full of samples.
That's the common assumption, and this is where it gets really amazing. The album is almost entirely original composition.
Wait, seriously?
Seriously, the only major sample on the whole record is on the track Riot, which samples Funkadelic's Good to Your Ear Hole. Everything else, Have Some Love, Boogeyman, all those grooves that sound like they were ripped from 1974.
They made them from scratch.
From scratch. Glover, Göransson, and their team of musicians.
That's incredibly difficult. It's so much harder to write a song that sounds like a classic than it is to just sample one.
It requires a level of music theory that, frankly, a lot of rappers don't have. They studied that era so closely they were able to basically manufacture a fake memory for the listener.
So let's talk about the key tracks, Me and Your Mama.
The lead single. It's really the thesis statement for the album. It starts as a lullaby, and then that beat switch hits you, and it's like, okay, abandon all expectations right now.
And then, of course, the monster hit,
Yeah.
Redbone.
The breakout. Won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance. Think about that. Traditional. The Academy basically said, yep, this rapper now fits in the canon of traditional soul.
And that high-pitched vocal.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it's pitch shifted up, but it's not.
It's not. That's him singing in his head voice, pushing his falsetto to its absolute limit. It gives the song that vulnerable, almost paranoid feeling.
Then there's Terrified.
A smoother cut. A little more sinister, kind of Prince-esque, but still in that same analog world.
Okay, we have to talk about the visuals. The album cover. If you see it once, you just never forget it.
It is so striking. It's a photo by the creative director Ibra Ak of the model Giannina Otato.
The look on her face. It's like ecstasy and terror all at once. Her eyes are rolled back.
It's incredibly intense, and the headdress was designed by Laura Wass. But what's really cool is if you were watching Glover's show Atlanta, you might have actually seen it before the album even came out.
Oh, right, the Easter egg.
Exactly. The artwork was just sitting in the background in the Juneteenth episode. He loves to cross-pollinate his projects like that.
And the cover itself is another one of those homages.
A very direct one. It's a nod to the cover of Funkadelic's 1971 album Maggot Brain, which has a woman screaming with her head coming out of the dirt.
But we can't really talk about the cover without getting into the controversy that came out later.
No, we can't. And it's a serious issue that really clashes with the whole utopian community vibe of the music itself.
So this is about the model, Giannina Otato. What exactly happened?
Well, years later, she came forward and accused Ibra Ak and the whole team of mistreatment over payment.
She said she was paid very little for the shoot.
Extremely low pay. And she says the promise was that they'd get residuals or royalties once the album blew up.
The classic do it for the exposure line.
Basically. And according to her, that money never came. She said, it's been an exhausting, emotional, and overall sad thing to deal with. She felt really exploited.
Did she ever pursue legal action?
She said her lawyers tried to contact Gambino's team, but were reportedly ignored. It's a really bitter footnote on such an iconic image.
Yeah, it definitely complicates how you see that cover now. You see the art, but you can't unknow the allegations behind it.
It makes you ask, can the art really be about community if the process of making it wasn't?
Shifting back to the reception, the album drops. Fans are shocked. What did the critics think? Was it a masterpiece or a mistake?
It was completely divisive, a total love it or hate it situation.
Let's start with the praise.
Okay, so you had the New York Times. They called it both homage and parody. They thought he captured the whole spirit of the 70s, the sensuality, the politics, the humor.
And The Guardian was on board, too.
They called it a prog-tinged freak funk opus. Rolling Stone loved it. The positive reviews all basically respected the ambition, the big swing he took.
But not everyone was convinced.
No. The main criticism was about authenticity. Vice was probably the harshest. They called it pure funkadelic cosplay.
Ouch. Cosplay is a loaded word. It implies he's just dressing up.
And that was the core of the critique. Is this a genuine expression, or is Donald Glover, the actor, just playing the role of a 70s funk singer? Pitchfork questioned if it was just mimicry.
Even Robert Christgau, the dean of American rock critics, had an opinion.
Yeah, he called it overrated and romantic P-Funk retro. So you have this huge divide. Is it a brilliant tribute, or is it just a hollow imitation?
But despite what the critics were arguing about, the audience seemed to love it.
They did. Commercially, it was a big success. Debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200, went platinum.
And the awards followed.
Well, Redbone was the awards magnet. It won the Grammy. And the album itself got nominated for Album of the Year. So the Recording Academy, at least, saw it as a legitimate and important R&B record.
So why do you think it connected so deeply with the audience, even when some critics were so skeptical?
I think for a lot of Glover's younger fans, millennials, Gen Z, this was their first real exposure to this kind of funk.
They'd never listened to Maggot Brain.
Exactly. So to them, this sound was new and original. Glover was the bridge, translating 1970s analog soul for a 2016 digital audience.
So when you zoom out, we started with a punchline rapper, and we ended with a Grammy-winning funk singer.
It's a story of total reinvention. He looked at what everyone expected him to do, make another rap album, and he just did the absolute opposite.
It's all about expectation, isn't it? If he had dropped a mediocre rap album, people might have just shrugged. But because he tried something this hard, he forced everyone to listen differently.
And that tension we talked about, imitation versus innovation, that really is the album's legacy. It is derivative, it sounds just like the 70s, but it was presented to an audience who had never heard that before.
And the fact that they built it all from the ground up with real instruments,
yeah,
that feels like the innovation part. It wasn't lazy.
it was a reconstruction, a very heartfelt one, even if the business side of the cover art makes that whole love and community message a little more complicated.
It's a complex legacy for a very complex album. So here's a final thought for you to chew on as you go about your day. We always say we want artists to evolve.
Right.
But when an artist completely changes lanes like this, do we judge them on how well they pull off the new style? Or do we kind of penalize them for leaving the old one behind?
And to add to that, thinking about the payment controversy.
Yeah.
How do we square the utopian spirit of the music, the choirs, the stay woke message, with the cold business reality behind the curtain? Can the art truly be utopian if the process wasn't?
Heavy questions for a very funky album. Go listen to Redbone again. Maybe you'll hear it a little differently this time. Thanks for diving in with us.
Thank you.